One of the coping mechanisms I use to manage depression and anxiety is something that I didn't even realize was a coping mechanism. And then I mentioned it to my therapist actually just a few weeks ago, and he said, oh yeah, no, that's totally a thing. And so it doesn't really have a name because I didn't know it was a thing. But essentially it's just sticking to my schedule as closely as I possibly can. That means that I rarely call in sick to work. I never cancel client appointments when I'm doing sort of like one-on-one coaching with folks. I try to keep participating in any other community activities that I'm involved in. And there's a lot of reasons for that. Obviously, when you're not feeling well, rest can be really helpful. And over the years, what I found is too much rest, if I'm in sort of a depression place, makes me feel more isolated. And if I'm in an anxiety place, it's more like the overwhelm gets too much because all you're thinking the whole time is, it's not restful, right? You're just thinking there's all these things I'm supposed to be doing that I'm not doing. So as time has gone on, this is something that I've played with a little bit. There are absolutely times when I show up to things and I'm maybe given 30 or 40%, but that's still 100% more than if I didn't show up at all. And what I've noticed is that I generally do better if I'm engaging with people, if I'm around people as opposed to not around people, if I'm doing work or something else that feels like it's effective and productive. That's better for me than sitting around and not doing those things. So I think this is probably something that's super personal, but when I mention this to my therapist, and I will link to the book in the notes so you can check it out, he mentioned a book to me called The Upward Spiral, which I've since picked up and started reading. And there's actually a lot of basis for just kind of staying the course as much as you can. The other thing that I've kind of come to realize over the years is if I stayed home every time I felt like I didn't want to, I'd miss out on a lot of stuff. As far as I can tell, the world will keep turning and it's going to keep doing its thing, whether I'm participating or I'm not. And so I can choose to be part of it or I can choose to extricate myself from it. Either way, I need to make the choice that makes sense for me. So a lot of times, yeah, I will show up and just kind of be a disaster and be a mess. The other thing I've noticed, and if you're in this place or you know somebody who's in this place, is you'd be surprised. I don't know if people are oblivious or they're just unwilling to say something, but like I've been at events where I am publicly crying through the whole thing and nobody even seems to notice. And I mean, on the downside, it's kind of I'm not really sure if that's like a comment, but even if you show up somewhere as a disaster, mostly people aren't going to say something about it. And there's something really actually kind of nice about that. So certainly if you're dealing with this stuff or someone else you know is, rest is obviously important in some places, but sometimes it's better not to rest. And that's something I figured out through trial and error. See you next time.